Tonight, what are we talking about? We're talking about you're my spouse, but I feel like you're my roommate. You're my spouse, but I feel like you're my roommate. Soulmates to roommates. I need y'all to go with me for a moment. Just go with me. Just visualize this. This young man, his name is Calvin. Calvin and Sonia has been married for 10 years. Calvin and Sonia. When they got married, they got in an apartment. So they lived in their apartment. About maybe 3 years into their marriage, a baby was born. His name was Jonathan. Jonathan was born about 3 years into the marriage. Well, when Calvin and Sonia first got married, they epitomized this right here. They epitomized being soulmates. Because when they first got married, you know the glamour of it all. You got the wedding, you know, all the lights and the colors and the decorating and all of this. So it was awesome. It was awesome. Little Johnny came along. Jonathan. 3 years later, little Jonathan came along. Now, the marriage between Calvin and Sonia was still pretty solid. It was still pretty good. However, there were some things to take place in the marriage that involved Jonathan quite a bit. How many of you know that when a child is born, they take attention from you as a couple? It will happen. So Jonathan now is in control, Miss Vanna. Jonathan, the one that's making the schedule for Calvin and for Sonia. It's all about Jonathan. Now, fast forwarded 3 more years. They have another child. It's a little girl. Her name is Nikki. Nikki is born now, so there is Jonathan, there's Nikki. So now they are 6 years in. Remember I said they were married for 10 years. They are 6 years in. Okay? Now they got 2 children. Now they find themselves, Calvin and Sonia find themselves doing a lot of talking, but the talking is mostly about, all right, Jonathan and Nikki. That's what it's mostly about. Most of their schedule is geared around the kids. Now they're 6 years in. Now they say, okay, we got these 2 small kids, you know, I got to give up my sports car. I got to give up a couple of things because I got to get a SUV or a minivan or something that's conducive to our family arrangement. So that's what they do. They go ahead and he trade in his Corvette, his muscle car, whatever. Yeah. He trade in his Maxima, and he gets something more conducive for the family. Now, they are 6 years in. It's like, you know what? We're tired of apartment living. We got to get a house because we need a backyard for the kids, you know, because they want to play, they want to do all these things. So, sure enough, now they got a mortgage payment because they went ahead and bought a house. Now, they are 3 more years in. That's 9 years. Now, remember I said they was married for 10 years. Now they're 9 years in. Now they got the house, they got the kids, they got the minivan, the SUV, and all of this. Well, now the relationship is beginning to shift a little bit. When they first got started, they were soulmates because really it was just them 2. Hey, what do you want to do tonight? Hey, let's go to a movie. Well, what do you want to do tonight? Let's go dancing. Let's go do these things. Let's go have a good time. But now, what we going to do tonight? Well, you know we got to get Jonathan homework first. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do this. So it starts to shift, and sometimes in the shifting, if you're not careful, it can sneak up on you. It can creep up on you unawares. You don't even know until sometimes, I'm not going to say it's too late, but you're so deep into it until now it's taken a whole lot of effort to come back to this. So Calvin and Sonia, now they're 10 years in. Now it has totally shifted from soulmate to roommates. From soulmates to roommates. How do you know? What are some of the indications of going from soulmate to roommate? What are some of the symptoms, if you will? What are some of the things that might be going on in the household to make you think that, hey, we could potentially be teeter-tottering on this roommate thing, When was the last date that you guys had? I mean, you don't have to answer, just kind of think about that. When was the last date you and your mate went out on? If you cannot remember when the last date was, you're kind of teeter-tottering just a little bit there. Spending most of your evenings away from each other when it's not necessary. It's not necessary for you to be apart, but for whatever reason, a lot of your evenings are apart. Now, when it's necessary, that's a different thing. But when it's not necessary for you to be apart, do you find yourself being apart quite often? Once again, just giving some indications of what could be going on as that relationship begins to shift. We're talking about going from soulmates to roommates. When was the last time you aggressively kissed your mate? Aggressively. I didn't say, think about gone. I ain't talking about that. When was the last time you, and all of these are rhetorical, but really think about it. The last time you aggressively kissed your mate. If you can't remember, you might be teetering on that roommate. These are just no indications here. Limited or no sexual intimacy or affection. I said limited or no sexual intimacy or affection. Limited or non-existent sexual intimacy. The Bible says in Genesis 2:24. Genesis 2:24. It says, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. Cleave in the Greek is, let me see if I can pronounce it. In the Greek is proskala. That's Proskolaao. You got it there, Pastor?
I'm working on it.
Okay. It's pronounced proskaleo. That's it. Proskaleo. That's in the Greek for cleave. What that means is to glue. Is to glue. To glue together. But what it never means is to separate or to be against. When I was in college, okay, I played Stafford Phi Alpha, and I actually lived on campus in the frat house. It was called Fraternity Row. I lived in the fraternity house. It was 3 of us, including me. I was one of the brothers. So each one of us had our own room in the frat house. Those were roommates. We were all roommates. So whenever I had something to eat or something, and I put it in the refrigerator, it wasn't expected for it to be gone whenever I get in. Okay, it wasn't expected, but did that happen at times? Sure. It did happen at times, but it wasn't expected. Everybody in the house had their own little thing in the house because we were roommates. But when we talk about soulmates, when we talk about being married, everything in the house belongs to everybody. Nothing is off limits. Everything is together. When the husband comes into the house, and I'm bringing up real life scenarios here that I know to be true. Husband comes into the house, speak, but go in a different room. Wife in this room. That's what roommates do. I also had an apartment when I was in college. I had a partner of mine. We used to roommate together. He had his room, I had my room. Every now and then we might be in the same room, but for the most part, he did his thing, I did my thing. We were roommates. But when we talk about, the scripture talk about cleave, that means to join. You are glued together. You're supposed to be together. So if when hubby comes in or when wife comes in and one is over here watching TV and somebody else is over here, the hubby or the wife is watching TV, if there is any friction at all within the relationship, the enemy begins to speak to you when you are away from each other. That's what he does. He begins to speak to you when you are away from each other. When the both of you are together, the Bible talks about a three-string cord being not easily broken. How can two walk together unless they agree? You hear old cliches, 3 heads are better than one. You hear all these things because it's strength in unity coming together. So when we are separate from each other in the same house, if I'm not speaking to any of you, I bet you know somebody that's in that predicament. In the same house and treating each other as if you are basically roommates. Did anybody have anything at this point? Yes, sir.
We do that sometimes, Doc.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's true. That's real.
Yeah, and at times, that's a good thing. At times.
I think I know where you're going, but go ahead. Go ahead.
To,
simmer.
Or just coming in and the whirlwind of the day, and you come in. It's not like you don't speak, or pet, or and hey, then you go and who's
Yeah.
And then how you David?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Now, what he is explaining, absolutely, I agree 1,000%. But what happens in that same scenario if you have just had something going on? You know what I'm saying? Something going on that had a disagreement. Now, ain't nothing happening, everything good, relationship solid? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, hey, the enemy, what is he talking to you about when you guys are in agreement? You just need a little time, a little me time. I get that. But when something is going on where there has been a disagreement and you come in and y'all go your separate ways, that can produce some issues, more issues. That can produce more problems. Speaking of what Pastor just said, sometimes separation is pivotal to come together. Does that make sense? Separation can be a good thing in coming together, but not in anger.
Makes the heart grow fonder.
Absolutely. So you'll say it again.
Yeah, absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Man, when I'm gone for a week and Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay. What I want to get into tonight is, let's get back to being soulmates by these points that I have here. Being roommates is a serious thing. It is very serious when you can't talk to your mate, your soulmate, your spouse the way you should be able to talk to them as a married couple. Roommates, whether it is a man and a woman, whether it's a man and a man, whether it's a woman and a woman, the conversation is different versus if it's a husband and a wife. At least it should be. It should be different. Conversation should be different. I just say it like that. It should be different. The first one I have up there, okay, if you're ever in a situation where the wife or the husband feels like, I'm being neglected, okay? I'm being neglected. He ain't seeing me or she ain't seeing me. just seems like he hanging with the boys more than he hanging with me, or she's shopping more than she's with me. And I'm not trying to be stereotypical, but I see that a lot. Different things going on where one mate is pulled from the other mate quite often. Once again, feeling neglect is a big example of that. See each other new. What do I mean by that? If wifey feels like, man, I've been married for 10 years, 15 years, but it's like I'm in this house with a roommate. That's what it seems like, because when we get together, all we talk about are the kids. When we get together, all we're talking about is this mortgage that's due. When we get together, all we're talking about is business. All that has to be talked about. However, that shouldn't be the only thing that you're discussing. Because after a while, you can start feeling like, man, we just making this thing work. This is just nothing more than a meeting place. We go to work, go to our jobs, and we going to meet back at 211 South Thomas Avenue, whatever the address is. That's where we going to meet at. And that's where, if you're not watching it, that's where what it becomes. It becomes routine. So when I say see each other new, what do I mean by that? Everybody in here remember how it was when you first met your mate. The googly eyes and all that. Everybody remember that. Somebody just went back and thought about it just then when I said that. You just visualized it, because I did too. I remember. When you start to see your mate like that. See, in Calvin and Sonia's case, when I was talking about when we first started, you can have a tendency to forget what it used to be like. Don't raise your hand. Has anybody ever said, you ever heard anybody say, man, you done changed a whole lot. You're not the person I married. And it got quiet. You're not the person I married. What was it that drew you to that person when you first got married? And what is it that put a wedge in it now that it may be a little bit strained or somewhat separated? So when we say see each other new, let me read what it says here. It says, recapturing in love feelings requires seeing your partner with new eyes. Eyes that are not clouded by old images. We call this kind of seeing imageless perception. When your thought in mind, when you're thinking about things that took place with your mate long ago that angered you, that caused a wedge to be put between you, that thing creeps up in your mind, and what's attached to it is how you felt back then. It could have been 5 years ago. It could have been 10 years ago. But if you haven't dealt with that thing, fully dealt with that thing, 10, 15 years later, it can still be dealing with you. Something remind you of that thing, and before you know it, we talking about that thing. And that thing happened many years ago. So that first point says, hey, let's recapture the in-love feelings anew. I'm looking at you differently starting from this point. Not from what happened back in the day, or not from what happened 2 months ago, 2 years ago. I'm looking at right now, starting fresh, anew. Kind of like it was when we first met. Hey, you get off the phone. I know how we do. You get off the phone. No, you get off the phone. You hang up. No, you hang up. And we're going through all this stuff because we just really, really into each other. So, see each other anew. It further says here, images are made up of bad memories you and your partner have had for each other. Everybody in here have had bad memories. I've had bad memories. Monica has had bad memories. I'm sure all of us have had bad memories. But in order to drown, if you will, those bad memories, you've got to start looking at each other from this point where we are right now. I'm not going to dredge up, I'm not going to think about, because that's what the enemy does. The enemy will have you thinking about something can trigger it. Been there, done that. something can trigger it, and whatever that thing that reminds you of that event years ago, something very simple in this, I see some people doing, something very simple right now can trigger a response that took place many years ago. So in that moment, we have to be intentional. The Bible says, casting down all imaginations that exalt itself against the word of God. So we have to, in that moment, cast it down. We have to cast it down. We have to, in that moment, be like, you know what? Devil, it ain't going to work this time. Because that's what he does. So see each other from a new, starting now, from a new perspective. Let me give you something to think about. Let's say you only get 24 hours tomorrow with your mate. To touch your mate, to see your mate, to deal with your mate. Just 24 hours. That's it. Tomorrow is March the 6th. That's it. How do you, and after that, you won't see your mate no more. She could be taking, or he could be taking a trip to Europe and not coming back. Whatever the case may be, imagine that. You don't see him no more. How you gonna treat that person for the next 24 hours? Y'all see where I'm going? How you gonna treat your mate? Now you ain't gonna see them no more. I'm talking from 12 o'clock tonight until 12 o'clock the next 24 hours. And you're not gonna see them anymore. And that's all you got, that 24-hour time span. How do you, and you think to yourself, how am I going to treat my mate during the 24 hours? Well, what I submit to you, Partners for Life, whatever you was thinking, treat them like that anyway, every day. Every day. See, so many times we fixate in our mind, they going to be there. He going to be there. She going to be there. But you never, ever truly know. You don't. So if you knew that there was going to be a division, how would you treat your mate? And whatever you thought in that moment, do it every day. Whatever you thought in that moment, do that every day. Questions, comments?
You scared.
No, and I'm glad. That's just getting you to think. I'm trying to get you to think. Did y'all have something?
Well, Ray and I were talking about that. I don't know, probably about a month or so, but not. We were talking about like death.
Mm-hmm. And see, I didn't want to say
I
that,
know,
but yeah.
Like my eyes watered up because I can't even imagine myself not seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. No.
I know. Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel.
But the reality of
I
it,
know.
Shantae, is that
That
we
he's
know
here.
people
Exactly.
this has happened to.
Right.
You know, I mean, it has happened.
Yeah.
And we are not even in the household with them, and we are just completely stunned, especially when you've seen the person less than 24 hours ago. It gives you something.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to talk. My uncle said something very, very profound. And if you know my uncles, this very rarely happens.
Nobody here say something. Oh, fine.
He said something
Oh,
profound.
oh.
My shade tree uncles.
Oh, okay.
But somehow it came up, here today, gone tomorrow. He said, here today, gone today.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you can be here today at 8 this morning, and you can be gone before lunch.
Absolutely.
Here today, gone today.
Absolutely. And that's the point of what I'm saying. Exactly. Anybody else? All right. Let's get back to soulmates. Sometimes we get off track. Sometimes life just happens. Things happen, and it does. But what I'm gonna tell you, what's a sad state of affairs is when you've gotten off track and don't know it. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Gotten off track and don't know it. What if one of the mate can feel it, can kind of tell we're headed in this direction or we are already here, but one of the mates is oblivious to it, have no idea what you talking about. That can be a strain big time on the relationship. If both of them are aware of it, that this could potentially be happening, you have both have got to want to fix it now. If both are aware, you have a much better chance of coming together to getting that thing right. A person cannot correct what's going on if they are unaware that it's happening. If a mate does not know what is happening or has no concern about what is happening, they can't fix it. You can't fix it. An alcoholic that will not admit he has a drinking problem, impossible. You cannot fix it if you don't admit it. Okay, let me get back to where I'm at. Number 2, it says, I like you who I am. Number 2 says, look at me. Come on now, Sam, stay with me. Play together. Y'all got me. Play together. I put in my notes here, I said, create something different. Create something different.
You don't keep it. Come on.
It says here, playing together is where you create opportunities to rediscover the important things that first drew you together. To recreate the important things that first drew you together. What if what drew you together no longer exists, though? Think about that. What if what drew you together, that's just a hypothetical question I'm just kind of throwing out there, no longer exists? Something or an array of things happened to draw you to that person. Something did. And as time went on, something may have kind of gotten off course or gotten off track. So when we talk about playing together, I'm talking about in that you're creating activities that you both can enjoy together. Things that you may not ordinarily do. Something that may be new that you can do together. I have here in my notes, for example, this is just an example now. It's all just an example. John, leave me alone, man. Come on, dude. Listen, I'm trying to be serious, but John messing with me. Make a doctor's appointment with your mate. I'm just throwing out an example. Something creative that you're not used to doing. Something that's different, not the same old mundane thing. Something out of the routine. For example, normally if you have kids that are school age in the house, during the day, they are normally in school. Mm-hmm. So most of us in here, I think if not all of us, have jobs that we go to. Okay? Why not call out on a certain day?
I'm thinking you want us to go to the doctor together.
You the doctor. Got you. When you make the doctor's appointment, now that's just an example. Don't fall out the chair. It's all right. I'm just throwing out stuff. You get creative and have fun with it. Hey, yeah, I make a doctor's appointment. What time you want me to be there? all right, I'll be there. Just little things like that where you joke and play. Well, now see how all y'all are laughing right now? In your house, are you laughing? When y'all at home, are you having a good time? Are you playing with each other? Are you having a good time playing and just laughing with each other? Monica and I will sometimes play, you know, y'all know about Tonk, right? We play Tonk sometimes together. Well, if it's just me and her, I ain't gonna get too far off it now. But we'll play a little Tonk and have fun with it, but we throw in creative ideas while we're playing cards. We might play checkers. And when I say king me, yeah, you king. Yeah. So just little games and having fun, because before J-Man, we used to do it all the time, man. I'm serious. Get a baseball glove. Y'all probably can't even imagine. Well, you probably can imagine me with one, but I don't know if you can imagine Monica with a baseball glove. With a baseball glove out in the yard. Do you remember that? We used to throw the ball and just catch. Go out there on the court, just play ball, just shoot. That was before J-Man. But there have been times, even during the time with J-Man, we'll go out in the yard. Get out there. Come on, let me see you shoot this thing now. We get out there and we play ball. And it's not expensive to do this. Just like we go to work every day, most of us, we go to work every day. You are dedicated to that. You are intentional with that. You are focused on that. You gonna do that religiously. You go to work. Why not do the same investment with each other? Do the same thing with each other. Be intentional with each other. Make a doctor's appointment. That's what I said. Make a doctor's appointment.
You think all my employees be going to them doctor's appointments?
It's possible.
Do they be calling
They
in?
seem so healthy.
So, see you. Yeah, little things like that, man. Just.
Pastor, you got to set up your hair club.
Oh, beautician, a hairdresser. All right.
I think you make a pretty little nurse.
Oh, okay. See that? See, y'all with me. Y'all trying not to say nothing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Let me move on. Number 3 says, we still talking about, let's get back to soulmates. The way it was when we first got together. If we done got off course, let's do some things to get things back on track. But first thing is recognition. You got to know that there is an issue. If one of the mates is having a problem and say, hey, I just seem neglected. I just seem sometimes by myself. I see you're treading on this. So, number 3 said, let go of needing to be right. I should have put that in all caps. Let go of needing to be right. In my notes, I put in here, there are times that you must forfeit being right in order to be at peace. One more time. There are times that you must forfeit being right in order to be at peace. If you want to get back that in love feeling, it will not come from a partner who feels they're always wrong because you are always right. There are times where it's not worth it. You have to pick your battles. You have to pick your battles. Let go of needing to be right. I'm not right all the time. You're not right all the time. And sometimes people will at times get to the point where you pushing an issue that when you really stop. You're pushing an issue, and when you really think about it, was it really worth it? All the turmoil that's coming from that particular issue. Was it really worth it? I cannot argue with myself. I can't fuss with myself. I can't. So if I'm me and Monica in a heated discussion, we going back and forth. If she decides to just be silent, don't hardly say anything, how do I look? Just y'all need to stop back there. Y'all need to stop. Let go of needing to be right. Now, are there times, like I said now, you have to pick your battles? Are there times where the man or the woman will push the issue to the point where, hey, this is how it is. This is what it should be like. And if I'm wrong as a man, if I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. If I'm wrong and you show me that I'm wrong, I will be the first to beg your pardon. Say I'm sorry. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, if I'm right, now listen though, listen. If I'm right though, but I see the issue just getting out of hand, this is going to kick in. It will. This will kick in. If you know how sometimes it could be with your kids. It could be with anybody. It could be on your job. You know that you right. And because the person just keep on coming, just keep on coming, you yield. You yield. So, okay. You just let it go. That will happen. And then when that happens, you start feeling the peace. Things starts to calm down. Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. He said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. What they was doing to Jesus Christ had every right. He got all power. He could have just devastated some stuff. Could have done whatever he wanted to do because he was right and he knew he was right. But Michelle Obama had a little. She coined a phrase. She said, "When they go low, we go high." Sometimes you have to yield this right here in order to make peace in the house. And that's all that is saying there. Any comments? Questions? Go ahead, Val.
No. All right.
Oh, no, you got a comment, don't really though.
That's good. That's good. Because I think I got to work on that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Being right, because I'll be right most of the time.
You be right. What?
You be right most of the time.
Until I'm wrong.
Until you're wrong. Yeah. And the thing about it, when you've been a certain way for so long, things like this don't happen overnight. You have to work on it. You have to work on it. But the thing with me though, if a person, whether it's my mate or anybody, if I see you trying, that's all I need to see. That's it. Hey, that's it, Pastor. If we working on some things ain't just right, all I need to see, you got that camera right there? Mm-hmm. All I need to see is you trying. That's it. And I can work with you trying. But when you're not trying to work with me to try to get some things in order, that's what really, really bothers me. Now, people have different temperaments. But I'm talking about me right this moment. If you're not really trying to get the thing right, that gets me frustrated because I attribute that to you not caring. Mm-hmm. So if as couples, if you're working together and you're trying to get this thing back on track, if whatever the issues, whatever's going on, you working together, God honors that. He honors that. You put him first in that and you working together, you can work it out. You can work it out. But when the person or persons are not trying, the end won't be good. Questions, comments? Y'all just quiet tonight. Everybody quiet. All right, I'm on number 4. We still talking about, let's get back to Soulmates by offer affectionate attention. That's a good one. Offer affectionate attention. When you're sitting at home watching TV, do you sometimes grab your mate's hand? Does the wife grab the husband's hand sometime while you're watching TV? Or do you sometimes put your arm around? I think you got your arm gone now. I see you back up. I see, got your arm around. That's what I'm talking about. offer affectionate attention. When you're walking in the mall or whatever, do you sometimes hold hands? When you're driving in the car, offer affectionate. I said earlier, when the last time you aggressively kissed your mate? Now I'm just going to say, when the last time you just actually just kissed your mate? And if you don't remember, you might be. No. Offer affectionate attention. I got in my notes here. Make the normal routine less normal. What do I mean by that? Make the normal routine less normal. Do the unexpected. Everybody in here probably got a normal routine. You probably normally get up at a certain time. You're probably out the house at a certain time. You probably normally come back at a certain time. And when your favorite show is on a certain day, you probably tune in to that favorite show. It said, make the normal routine less normal. How about an example? Do something unexpected. Those that can receive lunch dates on your job. Why not hubby sometime, if you don't ever do this, I bet you it'll be a pleasant surprise. Hubby sometimes they show up on the job with lunch because he know normally what times you take lunch. Or vice versa. Wifey shows up on the job with lunch because she knows what time you go to lunch. Just the normal routine make it less normal. You know what time hubby gets in the car in the morning getting ready to go to work. The night before, have a little note attached to the steering wheel telling him you're going to see him a little bit later on tonight. Have a good day. You know, little things like that offers affectionate attention. Just a little thing, and it costs nothing. It costs nothing. I remember 2 years ago, and I alluded to this a while back, actually. 2 years ago, we went to Shaco Springs, and we was watching football. We were watching Alabama football. And, what up, Pastor? And me and Monica was sitting in the back there, and other couples were sitting here, a few other couples sitting there, and I hit Monica like this. I said, look there. And I pointed at John and Sandra. Yep, you knew that. Yeah. I pointed at John and Sandra, and what I noticed was how Miss Sandra had her hand on his back, and every now and then she'd rub his back. She'll rub his back. I'm like, oh, that's so cute. That's so cute.
We were playing.
What do you say? Yeah, playing together. All right, that's what I'm saying. So that in itself, just that little gesture shows affection. It doesn't take much at all. There are times I might wink at Monica on the fly. I have winked at Monica in church. Did nobody see it but her though. Just little things like that. All for affection. What?
Don't mess around a week at church and you're going to find yourself with a girlfriend. Somebody behind that one will be like,
Back on the pulpit. Back on the pulpit.
You have all kind of confusion.
All up there.
like, no.
Hey, he done messed up my whole service. That's right.
You don't know who's watching.
Huh?
You don't know who's watching.
I know you got that right.
Yeah. Did you just wink at me? Confront your anger. You had a heated discussion, something going on, something that happened, went awry. Hit rewind. You knew I was going to say that here. Hit rewind. Okay. What just happened to get us to this point where we are right now? When you hit that fester, you don't want it to fester because you start forgetting sometimes what got you to that point, and then something later on reminds you, and then you blow up. Confront the anger right then. We'll say, all right, let's rewind. Okay, this is all I said was blah, blah, blah. Then she said, well, I said blah, blah, blah. Well, when you said blah, 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 I felt blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now we pinpointed what the deal was. Right then. So we have not only confronted, but in a lot of cases, we have derailed. We have derailed anger because it's been pinpointed now. Let me just read what the note says here. It says, all right, confronting your anger, taking the hot emotion out of anger. You're taking the hot emotions, because anger is but a feeling. That's all it is. Just like you feel, I ain't gonna go down that one. You might feel surprised about something. You might feel that you might liking a certain event or a certain thing that you might go to. Feelings are fleeting. Feelings come and go. Feelings come and go. Anybody ever been mad and forgot what you was mad about? You ain't gotta raise your hand. Forgot what you mad. Because it's a feeling, it comes and goes. So this will happen. This is unavoidable. You wouldn't be human if you never got angry. This will happen. But once again, what are you doing in the midst of it? You have got to go. There are things being said right today about something that happened many, many years ago because they did not confront it. Did not confront it. And it's still there. You have little girls that grow up into womanhood and take issues that they had as little girls, things that have happened to them, and they become so angry at that person. Pastor preached a sermon a while back called Monster in the House. I hope I'm doing your title justice. Monster in the House. And he talked about how different things can happen in your childhood that you didn't deal with, and now you're a full-grown man in adulthood, and that thing's still dealing with you because it wasn't confronted then. So issues, you're going to have them. You're going to get angry. But the key is dealing with it or confronting it right then. It says here, anger is a physical, emotional reaction. There is nothing about anger itself that is bad or destructive. It's a feeling like any other type of feeling. That's what we were just saying. All feelings come and go. They rise up. And if we don't latch onto them, they pass through us like a cold chill. You have got to deal with it when it's going on. You must deal with it then. Confronting your anger. We got one more. Do I have time to get my last one in? Let me go and get my last one. Any questions, any comments right now before I get this last one?
Comment on anger.
Okay.
Write down so it won't go away. Anger is hard to kick out. It has to be walked out.
Okay.
Because you just don't go from angry to unangry like that.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it doesn't disappear. It has to subside.
Mm-hmm.
You slowly, it's like kind of like temperature.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're angry, you done got 38 hot.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got to bring that down to 28 hot, 20 hot,
Mm-hmm.
10 hot,
Mm-hmm.
5 hot. It's because you're angry, it's a while. You can be kissing, trying to subside after a while. It might take 20 minutes before she kiss you back. It has to subside.
Yeah.
I've never seen somebody just go from anger to joy, back to back. It just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. Even if the truth comes out and you had no reason to be angry, but you still have to cool down.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, just to piggyback on that, a lot of times people, in order to get it to subside, sometimes you might go for a drive. Or you might go for a walk. You might go for a run or something like that. But yeah, good point.
That's the reason why the Bible said you need to be slow to anger. Because once it gets in there to that level, it takes a while to get it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anybody else? Be your best self. Sometimes, and in my notes, and some of these notes, God was giving me in my studies. Be your best self. I wrote here, challenge yourself to put the flesh down. Sometimes we can get to the point where it goes back when we were talking about let go of needing to be right. Sometimes we can get to the point where we are so adamant about getting our point across that, hey, I know I'm right in this situation. I know that this is how it should be. This is the direction we should go in. Be your best self. Meaning, you have to know when to say, okay, let it go. It's done. In other words, I'm going to compromise in order for us to be at peace. I'm going to compromise. I'm going to be my best self. The product that you see right now in front of you, right this minute, is a product of a lot of different events through life, through many years. Now, all of it ain't good, but all of it is not bad. But when we recognize the bad, when we recognize something that is just not the way God intended, when you recognize, what is the cliche? When you know better, you do better. So in those moments, and sometimes it doesn't feel good because you want to sometimes lash out. I'm just being truthful. You want to do this or you want to do that. But in those moments when you recognize that I'm not being my best self right now, you got to make a change. And it has to be intentional. Because if it's not your natural self, it's not going to come natural to you. Does that make sense? If it's not your natural self to be a certain way, it's not going to come natural to you. So if it's not coming natural to you, you have to do it yourself. Hey, I choose today to be a certain way. Now, am I, sir? Yeah.
You said something.
Yeah. I choose because right now I'm feeling some kind of way, but I'm going to choose to shift. Right now I'm feeling a little anger, I'm feeling some kind of way, I got my feelings on my sleeve, but I choose to do something different, to be my best self. Questions, comments? Everybody good? All right. Yes, sir.
Everybody's not naturally like you. Not naturally. Your personality, the way you act and interact, your interpersonal relationships with different people and even with your wife. So for other people, it will take, I'm talking about men most of all. A lot of us have grown up in environments where we're just not naturally affectionate.
That's true.
That's not our natural nature. That's not the blueprint that we had. And we may want to be, but don't know how to be. And that's where you really got to work on yourself. To make a conscious effort to, and if ladies will be patient and you got a man who's trying. Okay, it might be 2 months in the gap when I come up and kiss you. But over the last 10 years, it ain't been but one time. So, hey,
that's progress.
That's some progress, especially when it does not come natural. It's not my natural personality. It's not how I naturally act. So you have to really go against your grain, in order to make that happen. But if you really want to make it happen, you got to want to do that.
That's correct.
Want to do that.
That's correct.
Sometimes that can be tough. But you naturally can do a whole lot of other things real good now.
Your natural self.
Yeah, your natural self. You handle business in a lot of other areas, but that's just not my natural self in this area. Right. So you gotta, if you want to be better in that area, pray about it and make a little bit more effort. But you have to have a helpmate alongside you to help you with that, or understand who you are. heart.
That's right. And it goes back to, once again, trying. It may not be your natural self, like Pastor said, to be affectionate. The man may not, he didn't grow up in that household. He may not. But if I'm a woman, and I'm with a guy that I see actually trying, though he didn't grow up, he didn't see with his parents, don't know nothing about it. But if he's trying, I can work with it. Vice versa. I'm a dude, girl, lady. If I see you trying, I can work with that. If it takes, it's not your natural self, but if it takes you writing a little note to yourself, seriously, if it gets to that point, writing a little note to yourself, when I get in this evening, kiss her. Kiss her. You know, and now tell me this.
She about to have a heart attack.
Really, I mean, and you see that kind of effort, who wouldn't be like, okay, I can work with this. I can work with this. Anybody else?